Hi, I'm Noor. This is my fully automated AI channel, and it made me $1,200 in 28 days. On my channel, you are going to learn how to set this up for yourself. If you are new to my channel, I recommend watching my older videos first before continuing here, because it will not make much sense to you if you are starting with this video, because in the previous videos, I explained, for example, the overview of the setup, which you should understand before starting, and then how to set up N8N, then some results, then how to set up Supabase, which will be our database, and here I discussed some recent results. And this video will be about how to set up first N8N workflow, which is finding viral videos.
This is a quick demo of the viral video finder workflow. What it does is basically using the free YouTube API to find viral videos from our competitors that we defined in a Supabase table. It gets the most recent videos from our competitors and checks whether they have recent videos with more than 4,000 views in 12 hours or more than 7,000 views in 48 hours. If it found any, it will send us an email with the link of the video. What's cool about this workflow is that it not only searches your competitors' videos, but it can also find viral videos using search keywords that you define in Supabase. So in this second execution of the workflow, you can see that the workflow didn't find any viral videos from competitors, and that's why it's taking the bottom route, as you can see here, to search for videos using our keywords. And in this case, it found one viral video from keywords and send us an email.
You will find all the templates inside of my school community, and also I reveal my channel here, okay, the name of my channel, which some of you are curious about, I guess. And here you can find all of the templates and identity templates and everything, okay? So yeah, I recommend joining, because right now it's $27 per month, but once we reach 50 members, I will increase it to 47. I think this price is really decent for the amount of value I provide here, because I give you my whole system, which made me $1,200. So yeah, join before it's too late. Quick correction before we start. Last time I showed you how your Supabase tables are supposed to look like this, okay? Some like 3 unrestricted tables here, but now I made a change to that, a little change. So how your Supabase is supposed to look like is like this, without any red stuff showing, okay? So if you set this up before March 9th, you should delete your table. Here's a command for deleting, and set up all the parts and copy paste all the parts again, okay? But if you are doing this after March 9th, it's already correct here, and you should get a table like this at the end, okay, without any red stuff, and your agent prompts table looking like this, your workflow settings table looking like this, and yeah, that's it, okay? Today we are going to first set up our competitors table, where we will need to input our competitors. How we are going to do that? Let's do that now. So first step is you will go to youtube.com, and ideally you should do that in private mode, okay? And I'm not going to teach you today about how to select your niche. If you want me to do a separate video on that, let me know in the comments. If many of you request that, I will do that. But for those who are in my community, you can already read about it. Where is it? Oh, I have one here, the guide. You can read that, okay? Here I described in detail how to select your niche. But for anybody else, if you want me to do a video on that, you can just comment it. I will do that. Okay, so I will just show you what you need to input into the table. Competitors table. So my niche is psychology, so I search for psychology, and yeah, I check, okay, my competitors, and in my guide, in my school community, I've described like how to do that process in a lot of detail, but for now I will just pick this channel, and just pick its username, okay, copy that with the @ sign too. It has 116 subscribers, good, and now we will paste that into our competitors table. So we will insert a new row. This, you don't have to touch this will be generated automatically, and we will just input channel username and the rest of it. So you can also subscribe account if you want, just so for your information, but for the workflow it doesn't need that. Okay, you can set to now, the created date and updated date, set it to now, and is active too, okay? And then you can say that successful. So you will do that for all your competitors. You should have like maybe 20, okay? Aim for 20. If you have less, it's okay too, but aim for 20 at least. You can have also more than that, okay? And complete your table here, and at the end, it should look like this. Once you're done, it will look like this. So I just copied my old table, and I left out the channel IDs, so you can see how these will be filled out by the workflow. You don't need to input them manually. The only thing you need to input, actually, obligatory, is the channel username. This one. Also, this one will be generated automatically. You don't need to input those. And those you can do if you want, but you don't have to. Okay, the next thing you should fill out is the search keywords table, because this will be searched. These keywords will be searched if we didn't find any viral videos from the competitors, okay? So you will need to define some search keywords for yourself, for your niche. I have those. Yeah, let's check out this one. This was already pre-filled, okay? But first, workflow that we're going to set up today will use these settings to search for viral videos. And let me explain these quickly. So what this means is that the workflow looks at how old the videos are. It only considers videos that are not more than 48 hours old, okay? And it looks at two things. So first, it looks if the video is less than 12 hours old. It looks whether it got at least 4,000 views. And if it's more than 12 hours old, between 12 and 48 hours, it checks if it has at least 7,000 views. So you can change these settings, but I think when you're starting out, these are okay. And actually, in my case, I increased those recently because I started to not just post anything, but to post better quality videos. So I changed this to, I think, 10,000 and 12,000, okay, because I wanted to have more strict criteria for the videos I choose.
First, we are going to sign up to Google Cloud Console. As a new customer, you get $300 worth of credit. We are going to use these credits for AI models. In order to get the $300, you will need to link your credit card to your account. Once you're done, you will see the $300 converted into your local currency. And this blue button asking you to upgrade to a pay-as-you-go account. But I don't recommend clicking that button because if you exceed your $300 during the testing period, you will be charged automatically. So I recommend upgrading later when you have found that YouTube works for you.
The first step now is to open up the terminal and install Google Cloud CLI. Why are we installing this? It's because doing the configurations by copy pasting the commands is far easier than going to the dashboard and clicking stuff manually there. So that's why we're installing this. If you're getting an error saying that Homebrew is not installed, then I have some instructions for you about how to solve this problem. If you're getting any other errors, I recommend using ChatGPT to solve the problem. Now you will need to wait a couple seconds for the Google Cloud CLI to finish installation. Now copy and paste this command into your terminal. It will automatically open a browser tab. Select the Gmail account you used to sign up for Google Cloud Console to authenticate. Once completed, your terminal will be linked to your G-Cloud account, allowing you to configure and manage G-Cloud directly from the terminal without needing to use the G-Cloud dashboard. The next step is to create a new G-Cloud project. Copy and paste the following two commands. Before running them, make sure you choose a unique project ID. This ID must be unique across all G-Cloud users, so it's a good idea to create a longer one and include a few numbers. If you receive an error, it likely means that the project ID is already taken, and you will need to try a different one. For the second command, modify the specified part to give your project a name that you find appropriate. Everything worked correctly if you see a successfully finished message. This command sets the project you just created as the active project. Now we need to find the ID of our billing account so we can link it to the new project. The first command will display your billing account ID. Copy that ID and paste it into the second command. In my case, I initially got an error because I accidentally missed the last number when copying the billing account ID. After correcting it, the command worked on the second try. The next command enables all the API endpoints required for our project, such as the Gmail API, the YouTube API, and several others that we will need later for the AI models. If you see the finished successfully message, it means everything worked correctly. Next, go to your G-Cloud dashboard to verify that your new project appears there. If you don't see it immediately, try searching for your project name and it should show up. Select the project and make sure that the one you just created is the active project, as shown here. In my case, I forgot to switch to the new project and had to redo some of the steps that came afterward. So if you notice that the wrong project is selected in some of my later screenshots, that's why. I corrected it afterward. You can still follow the steps exactly as shown. Some tasks cannot be done through the CLI, such as creating an API key. For that, we need to use the dashboard. Create a new API key and give it a name. We also want to restrict the API key so that it can only be accessed from our N8N instance. To do this, go to Oracle Cloud where your N8N instance is running, copy its public IP address, and paste it into the restriction field. Once the key is created, copy the API key and go to your Supabase project. Open the API accounts table and click Insert Row. Leave the ID field empty. It will be generated automatically. You can add a name to help identify which Gmail account the key belongs to. Paste the API key into this field. Set both last used and updated add to now. I recommend adding 3 API keys from 3 different Gmail accounts to this table. Since YouTube API rate limits apply per account, using multiple accounts allows you to distribute requests and effectively increase your available usage. The YouTube API is free, so doing this will not create additional costs. Now it's time to set up our first N8N workflow. Go to the Classroom section of my school community and download the Viral Video Finder template. Then open N8N and click Create Workflow. After that, select Import from File and upload the file you just downloaded. As you will notice, the workflow contains many sticky notes that explain in detail what each part of the workflow does. The red notes indicate the steps that still require some configuration before the workflow can run. Let's take a closer look at a few of the notes. The workflow begins with 2 triggers, a manual trigger and a schedule trigger. The manual trigger allows you to run the workflow manually while testing. The schedule trigger, on the other hand, is used to run the workflow automatically at a set time interval. Right now, the schedule is set to run every 5 hours. However, I recommend changing this to every 12 hours since running it every 5 hours would likely waste your YouTube API rate limits. The chances of a new viral video appearing within such a short time frame are relatively low. Also keep in mind that the schedule trigger only works when the workflow is published. We'll do that later once everything is configured. While the workflow is unpublished, like it is now, the schedule trigger will not run. Now I will show you how to configure each node that has a red sticky note attached. For the first Supabase node, you only need to make sure that your Supabase account is set correctly. We already connected our Supabase account in a previous video where I showed you how to set up Supabase. If you run into any problems at this step, go back to that video and check whether everything was configured correctly. The second thing you should verify in this node is whether the API accounts table is populating correctly. Simply click on the table field and check if all your Supabase tables appear as shown here and make sure API accounts is selected. If you see any errors during this process, go back to the Supabase setup video to confirm that your Supabase connection is properly configured. I won't go through every node in this workflow because the video would easily become 2 hours long. However, just to give you a quick idea of what the green nodes are, they mainly format the data so it can be used correctly by the YouTube API. For the next 4 Supabase nodes, you only need to repeat the same check we just did for the first one. Make sure your Supabase account is connected and that the correct tables are selected. Now let's take a look at this HTTP node. This is essentially another Supabase interaction, but I used an HTTP request because N8N does not have a native Supabase node that prevents duplicate data from being inserted into a table. This node ensures that the same video is not inserted twice into our viral videos table. First, you need to enter your Supabase URL in this field. Go to your Supabase dashboard and copy your URL. Next, we need to configure a header credential. Set the name to API key for the value. Go to your Supabase server and retrieve the service role key. You can find it in your Docker folder inside the .env file. Open that file, look for service role key, copy it and paste it into the value field. We also need to add this key to the header section. Paste the same key there, but write bearer before it and leave a space between bearer and API key. Set the header name to authorization. Finally, add one more header. Set the name to prefer and the value to resolution equals ignore dash duplicates. Next is the Gmail node. First, enter your email address in the To field. This is where the viral videos that the workflow finds will be sent so you can review them. Next, we need to connect your Gmail account. Click Create New Credential and leave OAuth 2 selected. Now go to your Google Cloud dashboard. Click Create Credentials and select OAuth Client ID. If prompted, click Configure Consent screen and then get started. Give your app a name. Select your email address from the drop-down menu and choose External as the user type. Under Contact Information, enter the same email address you used earlier. Then click Next and agree to terms. Click Continue and finally click Create. After that, go back to Credentials and create a new OAuth client ID. Select Web Application as the application type and give it a name. Now copy the callback URL from N8N and paste it into the authorized redirect URIs field in Google Cloud. Save the configuration. Next, copy the client ID and client secret from Google Cloud and paste them into the corresponding fields in N8N. Click Save. Then return to your Google Cloud dashboard, open the Audience tab and click Publish App. Back in it and click Sign in with Google. Select your Gmail account, click Advanced, follow the link provided, select All and click Continue. Your Gmail account is now connected to N8N and the workflow can send you emails whenever it finds viral videos. Next, go to your workflow settings table in Supabase. Temporarily adjust the viral criteria so we can test whether the workflow runs correctly. Set the minimum views to 300 for now. We are lowering the viral threshold temporarily so the workflow can find a video during testing. Once you've done that, execute the workflow. It should run all the way through and send you an email. If the workflow stops at any point, it likely means there is an issue with your setup. In that case, I recommend copying the entire workflow and pasting it into ChatGPT or Claude to ask for help troubleshooting the problem. If you receive the email, it means your workflow is working correctly. Finally, go back to the workflow settings table and change the view count back to its original value. Don't forget to publish the workflow if you want the scheduled trigger to work. However, I don't recommend publishing it right now because we haven't set up the whole system yet. Now we need to set up another workflow called Confirm Video Suitability. This workflow will process the response you send to the email containing the viral video. Based on whether you reply yes or no, it will update a column in your database accordingly. The first node is a Gmail node that checks your inbox for new emails. By default, it is set to check every minute, but after testing, I recommend changing this to every 5 minutes to reduce unnecessary requests. In the email field, enter your email address. For the Supabase nodes, you don't need to configure anything. They should already be set up correctly. Now let's test the workflow. I'll reply no to the email I received earlier. If you go to executions, you will see the first execution triggered by our reply. However, it looks like something went wrong because the workflow didn't complete successfully. Let's check the issue. It seems we forgot to configure this field. In the Input Data panel on the left, scroll all the way down and drag the From variable into this field. Now run the workflow manually to test if it works. Great, it worked. Now go to your viral videos table in Supabase. In the suitable column, you should see a new entry false for the video we responded no to. Next, let's test if responding yes works as well. It didn't work. Do you know why? Because I forgot to publish the workflow after making changes. So remember, whenever you modify a workflow, make sure to republish it. Otherwise, the workflow will continue running based on the last published version. Let's publish it now and test again. Perfect. Now it works. And in the viral video table, you can see a new entry true for the video we responded yes to. Let's tidy up our workspace a bit and create a folder where we can store all of our finished workflows. Next, we need to set up the final workflow, which resets the YouTube API quota flags. This workflow looks for all YouTube API accounts in the API accounts table that are marked as exhausted and resets their quota exhausted flag back to false. For this workflow, simply check the Supabase note to make sure your Supabase account is connected and that the correct table is selected. If everything is set correctly, it should work right away. Click Execute to test the workflow. If it successfully runs through all three nodes, the workflow is configured correctly and you can go ahead and publish it.